Hello everyone, this is Professor Amar Bakodi from Department of Civil Engineering, Angadi Institute of Technology and Management. So today we are going to study about the water distribution systems in the subject Water Supply and Treatment Engineering, Module 5. Introduction. The purpose of distribution system is to deliver water to consumers with appropriate quality, quantity and pressure. Distribution system is used to describe collectively the facilities used to supply water from its source to the point of usage. Basically, this distribution system will be used to deliver the treated water or raw water, whatever you are going to call it, to the ultimate end user, that is the consumer. So that is the major point or else work of a distribution network. Requirement of a good distribution net system. Water quality should not get deteriorated in the distribution pipelines. It should be capable of supplying water at all intended places with sufficient pressure. It should be capable of supplying the requisite amount of water during firefighting. The layout should be such that no consumer would be without water supply during the repair of any section of the system. All the distribution pipes should be preferably laid 1 meter away or above the sewer line. It should be fairly watertight as to keep the losses due to leakage to a minimum. So if you check out here, so water quality should not get deteriorated in the distribution system. So distribution system should be capable of withholding the treated water quality till its distribution point. It should be capable of supplying water at all intended places with sufficient pressure. That is, along with the process of supplying water, it should be make sure that you have sufficient pressure over there. It should be capable of supplying the requisite amount of water during the firefighting. That is, during firefighting, you need a huge quantity of water in a very short duration of time. So even your distribution system should be capable of supplying that quantity of water in that small stretch of time. The layout should be such that no consumer should be without the water supply in any case of repair. That is, the system should be such that even if the water supply chain breaks from one end, it should have a supply end from the other end. So such kind of arrangement should be there in a distribution network. Next, the distribution pipe should be preferably laid 1 meter above or beside or else away from that sewer line, so that there will not be any mixing or contamination of water, and it should be watertight so as to keep the losses to the minimum. So these are the requirements of good water distribution system. The distribution pipes are generally laid below the road pavements, and as such their layouts generally follow the layouts of the road. There are general 4 different types of pipe networks, any one of which, either single or in combinations, can be used for a particular place. Classification of distribution network. So we have dead end system, we have radial system, we have grid iron system, and we have ring system. So here we can use any of these 4 system of distribution network, or we can use even the combination of these same. First one is a dead end system. So it is suitable for old towns and cities having no different pattern of roads. That is, imagine if in dead end system, or what we call it as tree system, if you check out, so M is indicating the main pipeline, B is branch line, S is submain, and dot E is basically cutoff valves. So if you have the main what I can say pipe here, you can check out, so wherever there is a diversion, you have a cutoff wall. So you can check out this particular vertical line is indicating the main line what we have. Okay, as and when you have the submains or branch lines, so you have a cutoff wall. So basically this entire distribution can be controlled with this cutoff valve. So similarly the same thing is over here. So wherever the main branch branches out, so basically there you are going to have the cutoff valve. And here you can check out wherever the imagine if I take this particular section, right, so this is the branch line. Okay, you have then sorry, this is the submain line, and then you have the different branches what are here. So at this point of time, what will happen is, so usually in this dead end system, once the main line is filled with water or water supply is there, you will open this cutoff valve. It will enter into these particular pipelines for a fixed amount of time, and then you are just going to close it off. So because of that, what will happen? The quantum of water flowing in a particular section area is going to be fixed up. But there is one disadvantage of this, because once you close it off, when the flow of water is complete, or it is finished, so then the stagnant water will remain in these pipelines, so which may cause corrosion or much of the many operational troubles which are going to be there. So this is nothing but the dead end system or tree system what we are going to have. So as I said, the advantages for that, this is relatively cheap, and determination of discharge and pressure is easier due to the less number of valves. So here one valve will control one particular section of area where the water supply is to be there. So because of that, what will happen? You can have a easy access or easy control over how much pressure of water needs to be there, along with that how much quantum of water needs to be distributed over there. And the only disadvantage over here, as I have to discussed, so because of the many dead ends, the stagnation of water will occur in the pipelines once the system of supply is stopped. So this is one of the disadvantage. Now the second one, we have radial system. So the area is divided into different zones. The water is pumped into the distribution reservoir kept in the middle of each zone. The supply pipes are laid rapidly ending towards the periphery. So here in this simple example, what I can show is these what I can say dark circles are nothing but the distribution reservoirs which are there. So these are nothing but the distribution reservoirs. So here what is happening? So it is nothing but your overhead tank. You can imagine this as a overhead tank. If I just try to draw this, okay, in section, we can see, imagine this is your overhead tank which is there, and this is the supply network. So this square which is there, right? So if I just try to look it from this angle, imagine you have your houses in all rows which are over here. So these houses, you have rows behind these and in front of these. So something like this is there. So in each of the section or zones which are being created, you will have a overhead tank, and from there basically the water will be distributed to each of the houses through main and sub main lines. So at that point of time, what will happen? The water is having a high elevation at this point, and 360 degrees wherever your network or how the houses or your how the road network is there. So based on that, you are going to have your particular flow of water. So this is how the radial system works. So advantages, it gives quick service because you have a smaller section area. So even if the water is interrupted because of any maintenance work, it will be there only for this small area. The remaining areas will not be affected. So calculation of pipe size is quite easy. Again, the reason being what? You have a very small area of distribution for each of these such overhead tanks. So this is how the radial system works. So again you have one main line. So sorry, I forgot this. So this main line which is there, from the water will enter into from that main line itself. But from there the sub main will be putting these main line water into these overhead tanks or reservoirs, what they are calling. And from there the water will be distributed to each of the houses. Right. So this is radial system. Now the next one is gridiron system. So in this gridiron system, it is suitable for cities with the rectangular layouts where the water mains and branches are laid in rectangles. So if it is a planned city, then gridiron system will be working properly. So gridiron system, you can call it as an evolution of the first one, what we have studied, that is a dead end system, where randomly wherever the road used to go, your water supply system all used to go. But the only constraint was you have one valve, cutoff valve for the each of the subdivisions what the water supply system had. So in this gridiron system you can check out. So you have one particular main line here. Yeah, you have one main line. Okay, so wherever the main line is branching out, again you have these cutoff valves. Okay, you have the cutoff valves. So you can check out in each of the section, if the main line is subdividing over here as well as over here, you have two cutoff valves over here. and once it reaches there, again you have cutoff valves. So because of this, what will happen, even if there is any maintenance work going on over here, so these remaining water which is entering from here, it can actually take care of the water supply for the affected areas. So what we have discussed in the requirements of a good distribution network, so this is one of them. So if you need to have more number of valves so that you can control the flow of water, so in case of any maintenance in one particular section of area, even the other what I can say valves or other regions of areas can take care of that particular load which is going to be there because of the repair. So that is how your grid iron system works. So advantages for this: water is kept in good circulation due to absence of dead ends. So as I said, so there is no specific end. So even if one area is affected, so the other from other area the water can be supplied to that. So basically with that there will be a good circulation of water. In the case of breakdown of some section, water is available from the other direction. So the same thing I've just explained. Disadvantages: exact calculation of the sizes of pipe are not possible due to provision of valves on all branches. So here the difficulty where it comes, I'll tell you. Let us have this figure. Imagine this is my main line, okay, and from here I am having this branch line or a sub main line, okay, and here I have, let us say, my branch line, and here I have my house. Okay, so now usually what is happening, water is coming like this, it is coming like this, it is coming like this. Okay, this is how the water is moving. So at that point of time I have my valve over here, so I can control the flow which is happening on this entire area. That is one good part. But imagine there is some maintenance which is going on here. So that's why what they will do, they will cut off this line, and now they will imagine this is one more submain what we have in the next line. So first line, second line, imagine that. So now instead of the water entering from this end, my water can from the main line can enter into the submain and then into this branch in the other direction. Okay, whenever we do this, so this submain what we have over here is taking care of its own area. Along with that, my house has become an extra burden for this particular submain. I hope you are getting this. So that's why what will happen, the size of this pipe should be more. Okay, but you cannot properly estimate when the, or else how many percentage of time there will be any operational troubles or maintenance that will be occurring at any point of these junctions. So that's why what will happen, if these designs are capable of taking care of the regions which are affected with water, but unfortunately to calculate the size of these pipelines, what should be the diameter of these pipelines, so that will become very difficult, and that is one of the disadvantages if you use the grid iron system. So the same thing is mentioned over here. Now the next one is ring system. So in this ring system, the supply main is laid all along the peripheral roads and submains and branches out from the mains. This system also follows the grid iron system with flow pattern similar in character to that of a dead end system. So determination of size of the pipe is quite easy. So here what they are trying to say is, yeah, so here if you check out, they have this grid system. So instead of running the main lines at the center, they are running the main lines at the periphery of that region. So you can see this is how your main line is running, and from outer edge to the inner edge the water is being supplied. Okay, from the outer edge the water is being supplied to the inner edge. Okay, so this is again, as said, it is an advanced version, you can call it, of the dead end system. Okay, so here also if any one section is being disturbed, so from other section the water can be supplied. There is no need to worry, since the main lines are working from the peripheral section of these system. This is how the ring system works. So water can be supplied to any point from at least two directions. So the same thing, if any obstruction or maintenance is there, the water can be again taken down from the other end. So these are the ring system working. Now the next thing is distribution systems are one part of it. The second part of that is going to be the methods of water distribution. That is how you are going to distribute. So till now we have discussed about the distribution networks. Now it is methods of water distribution. So for efficient water distribution system, adequate water pressure is required at various points. That is one point. Depending on the level of source, the topography of the area and the other local conditions, the water may be forced into the distribution system by the following ways. So the first one is gravity system, second one is pumping system, and the third one is combined gravity and pumping system. So as we have previously discussed in intake structures, so here if you have, let us say, we'll just rub it off. Okay, imagine, okay, you have a pond or a lake here, and imagine this is the topography. And if you have your houses or a village down here, whatever the water is being stored in this lake can be taken down to a pipe, and through gravity it can be taken or else supplied to the public. This is one way. Or if you want to treat this, the treatment plant, if it is there available within that particular gravitational range or below the water source, then even you can do that. Second thing is, if the topography is something like this, where water is at a lower elevation, your houses are there at a higher elevation, then you need to go for the second one, that is pumping system. And if you have few of the houses in the downside and a few of the houses in the upstream side, then you can go for the third one, that is nothing but the method of water distribution. First one, let us discuss about the gravity system. So it is suitable when source of supply is at a sufficient height. So as I said, if the source is at a higher elevation and the water distribution that is required, the consumer is at a lower elevation, then this gravity system will work. Most reliable and economical distribution system, this is quite economical and reliable, since there is no usage of power or pumping which is required. Through the gravity, automatically the water will distribute. The water head available at the consumer, it is just minimum required. So here, because of the gravity, so minimum pressure is also fine for this kind of work. The remaining head is consumed by the frictional and other losses. So even as and when the length of travel will be more, obviously the frictional loss and other losses will be there, but since it is a gravity flow, so it can be without any power requirement, that can take care. So if you check out this particular figure, what it is showing, so first you have your aquifer, that is your groundwater, which is available, right? So through that it is being pumped up and it is monitored and testing. So imagine this is nothing but the treatment plant which is there. Okay, so don't consider this as a part of your gravity system. Okay, so gravity system will be there only in this section. Sorry, gravity section will be there in this section only right now. Yeah, so this is nothing but the gravity system. So rest of the other things are nothing but the prefix to this gravity system, what this figure is indicating. So gravity system already says that your water should be at a higher elevation. So in this case, a overhead water tank where the water is stored, and houses are there at a lower elevation. So the water can come through gravity and it can be distributed to all the houses. So this is how your gravity system works. Now the second one is pumping system. So in pumping system, you can see again you have a gravity water, groundwater. So that will be pumped up to a higher elevation reservoir. Okay, and from there the water can be given to any of the houses. So here that previously what we have neglected in the last slide, even if you consider that, so this portion is going to become what? Your pumping system. So this part is again your gravitational system, what we have earlier discussed, but this part where you are pumping or else you are elevating the groundwater to a overhead storage tank, that is going to become what? Your pumping system. So this is how your pumping system or pumping system of water distribution is going to work. So if I just read it out, treated water is directly into the distribution main out storing, that is, so the pumping water can be directly stored over here or it can be directly supplied to the individual houses through any of the distribution networks what we have studied, also called as pumping without storage system. If you don't have this reservoir, then you can call that. So right now what I told, so from the source directly if you are distributing it to the houses through any of the distribution networks, then you can call that as pumping without storage system. So high lift pumps are required because you need to lift or else you need to pressurize that water to a greater elevation. If power fails, the complete stoppage of water supply system will be there, since there will not be any storage. So for pumping system, this is one of the disadvantage. If you want to have this, you need to make sure that you have 24/7 power system or a power supply for this. This method is not generally used. The reason being, again, this will become costly, because for 24/7 supplies you cannot continuously pump that water. And one more difficulty is, based on the usage of water at this end, your pumping pressure head should differ from the source, because if you continuously pump it and if all the taps are closed, again it will affect the distribution system. So that's why practically this will become a bit difficult. Now the next one what we have is combined gravity and pumping system. So basically here it is the most common system what we use. Treated water is pumped and stored in an elevated distribution reservoir. Then the supplies to consumer by action of gravity, that will be there. The excess water during low demand periods gets stored in the reservoir and gets supplied during the high demand. Economical, efficient and reliable system. So basically it is a combination of gravity and pumping system. So if you check out in the next slide, we'll go with the flow chart of this. Yeah, you can check it out. So these are nothing but the various sources of water, irrespective of whatever that source is. First you have your raw water pumping facility, then you have this treatment unit or treatment plant where the water is treated, then you have it, imagine this figure is, if you are not getting that, so basically here it is the pumping station what we have. So from that pumping station we can raise that head of water to a overhead tank, and from there you can distribute the water to anywhere. Okay, so here one more figure in simplest of terms, if I need to say, imagine you have your source here. Okay, this is the water, raw water, right? Then you have your water treatment plant over here. So you have different units of water treatment, and once this is treated, okay, you have your houses even at a lower elevation somewhere like this, and even you have your houses in the city where you want to supply that water at a higher elevation. So at that point of time, the water which is treated will be usually stored in a particular tank or a sump, what we call it, and wherever the elevation is lower than this tank or sump, basically through gravity the water will be supplied over to all these houses. And wherever the elevation is more, that time the pumping system will be used to make, or else you are going to raise it up to a overhead tank, and from there the water will be supplied to the remaining houses. So this is how your combined gravity and pumping system works in a water distribution system. Now the last one what we are going to have is your distribution reservoirs. Okay, so let us see this. Distribution reservoirs, also called as service reservoirs, are the storage reservoirs which store the treated water for supplying water during the emergencies, such as during fires, repairs, etc., and also to help in absorbing the hourly fluctuation in normal water demand. So what these distribution reservoirs will do is, basically these are storage of treated water or raw water, whatever you are going to call it. Before the distribution, you can actually have a safeguard or a buffer, what you can call it. So those buffers are nothing but what? Your distribution reservoirs, where the water will be stored initially for a few times if the demand is less in the houses. Okay, in the remaining, let's imagine these are the houses, right? So imagine the demand is less, at that point of time only a small quantity of water can be distributed, and the remaining water will be stored here only. And again, this in case of emergency where huge quantity of water is required, for example during the fires, for firefighting, or in case of any repair in the distribution system where you want to put extra water in the existing line, so that even the affected areas will be taken care by various distribution networks, what we have studied earlier. So even for all such kind of a things, basically you require this distribution reservoir. So these will act as a buffer or a storage from the water treatment plant. Basically you are going to store it here, then you are going to supply it to the public or the consumer. So functions of these distribution reservoirs. So to absorb hourly variation in demand, that is if you remember the first module, so there we have studied the variation of demand. Okay, so if, the water demand in the morning will be different, in the afternoon will be different, again in the evening it will be different. So we have studied all those with a graph, we have studied those, right? So as and when those demands are varying, the flow of water in your distribution network will vary. Okay, so as and when the flow will vary, the quantum or the discharge of water is going to vary. So that's why even your distribution network should have a sufficient buffer where the water can be stored. When the demand is less, the water will be stored. When the demand is more, that excess quantity of water needs to be discharged through the distribution network. So this distribution reservoirs help to do that. To maintain constant pressure in the distribution main. So even with this basically constant head, what we are going to have, so the constant pressure is maintained in all the pipelines. And the last one is water stored can be supplied during emergencies. So the water, as I said, emergencies include your firefighting or any kind of leakages or repairs what you are going to have. Even at that point, it is going to help you. Now next we have location and height of the distribution reservoirs. It should be located as close as possible. It should be located as close as possible to the center of the demand, so that the water can be distributed to a shorter length to cover the entire area. The water level in the reservoir must be at sufficient elevation to permit gravity flow at adequate pressure. So again, the depth of flow should be more so that there will be sufficient pressure. And even if imagine if you have your reservoir somewhere here and your houses that you want to supply are surrounding this, then it will have a very short distance that the water should travel. So your distribution will be much faster if it is at a nearer to the supply. This is what do you mean by the first point, which is located here. Yeah, so types of reservoirs. So the storage reservoirs. Depending on the elevation and with respect to the ground, it may be classified as surface reservoirs or elevated reservoirs. So surface reservoirs are nothing but in small ways you can call them as bund. So what in extensive survey you have seen, basically these are nothing but the reservoirs only, water reservoirs. So those things are used for irrigation purpose. So similarly a bit larger one can be used for the water supply system. So in this you can actually store the treated water or raw water based on the conditions and constraints what you have with your area or locality. Similarly the second one is elevated reservoir, that is nothing but the overhead tank. So even in few of the ring systems where you have seen, so overhead tanks will be used for the distribution of pipeline water. So similarly here also elevated reservoir is means or else overhead tank is one of the example for elevated reservoirs. Now surface reservoirs, these are also called as ground reservoirs as we have discussed, mostly circular or rectangular tanks which you are going to have. Yeah, one more thing over here is what reservoir photo I have shown, that is one part, or else even you can have the sump tank. In the previous slide what I have mentioned, sump tank. So sump tank is nothing but large underground structures where you can store lakhs of water together. So whatever the demand of that locality is there, you can basically store that quantum of water based on different design considerations what we are going to have. So these surface reservoirs which are there is one more example for that. So for example, okay, so imagine this is your ground level, right? So your tanks may be located like this, or it may be located on the surface something like this. So partially it will be there. So these are nothing but the surface reservoirs. So these quantum of water which is stored inside these tanks will be quite huge. So if you visit any of the water treatment plants, basically the treated water will be stored in such kind of sumps, what we call it as sumps. Okay, so there usually it will be stored. So even that sumps are going to be an example for surface reservoirs. Now next, underground reservoirs are preferred especially when the size is large. So the same thing just now what I have explained. These reservoirs are constructed high natural grounds and are usually made of stones, bricks, plain or reinforced concrete, so that it should be structurally strong. Because of the high quantity and the depth, the pressure which is applied on these side walls will be quite more. The side walls are designed to take up the pressure of the water when the reservoir is full and the earth pressure when it is empty. So both the things. So whenever the water is inside, your pressure will be acting something like this in the outward direction. So your wall should be able to withhold that. And whenever this is empty, whenever this entire thing is empty, then the surrounding earth which is there, that will put a pressure on the external walls towards inside. So even the wall should be capable of withholding both the pressures, that is outside pressure as well as inside pressure. So that is what is meant by the last point. Elevated reservoirs, or what we call it as overhead tanks. So here it is referred to as overhead tanks are required at distribution areas which are not governed or controlled by the gravity system of distribution. These are rectangular, circular or elliptical in shape. If the topography of the town is not suitable for under gravity system, then the elevated tanks or reservoirs are used. So this, whenever you use these elevated reservoirs or overhead tanks, basically you are pumping that. So it will become a partially pumping and partially gravity system based on what you are going to consider. So that's why it will, if through gravity your water is not being supplied, then you can go for overhead reservoirs. They are constructed where combined gravity and pumping system water system is adopted, as just now I have told. These tanks may be made up of RCC or steel. So based on what kind of material you want and what elevation you want and how much quantity of water to be stored over there, so based on that even the material of constructions can be different. Yeah, so this is about the elevated reservoirs. Okay, so now let us see in this class what all things we have considered. So we have studied about the distribution system. Yeah, so we have studied the methods. So we have gravity method, we have pumping method, and we have combined gravity and pumping method. What we have systems. Yeah, so apart from that, distribution system is four systems. What we have studied, that is dead end, ring service, the other ones which are there. So apart from that, this service reservoirs we have studied, that is your surface and overhead tank. So those things itself will come here, but the service reservoirs and its capacity determination. So basically here we are going to take the help of something called as rainfall mass curve. So basically that rainfall mass curve will be something like this. Just brief, I'll give it. This is the graph, imagine. Yeah, your graph will be something like this. So here you are going to have your time on x-axis, and here you are going to have your cumulative discharge. Here you are going to have your cumulative discharge. So based on this graph, basically you can actually determine how much inflow of water is there in a river. So if a river is there, first you need to understand how much inflow of water is there. So once you understand that inflow, then you should go for the construction of these dams. So then the capacity, how much it should be. So in a season, how much inflow is there. So based on that, you can actually determine the capacity of this reservoir. So we use something called as a rainfall mass curve. So this is an example of a rainfall mass curve. So in detail, we'll check it out during the problems. Yeah, thank you.